I wonder if any of my unsolicited guests ever regret cross dressing and having it caught on film. Let's talk about it.
Lionel Nelson here, and welcome to A Father's Note, promoting fathers through building men.
In Deuteronomy 22:5, the Hebrew translation, it says that there shall not be an article of a man upon a woman, and a man shall not put on a wrapper of a woman, because everyone doing these things is an abomination unto the Lord your God. Now, your God is key because I believe that if you were an individual who fear God, you would make sure that you would not violate this particular scripture. But then we also hear the thought of that, we're not no longer under the law, but we are under grace. But we must understand that Jesus never came to replace the law or to undo the law. The law of God is the law of God, and it's always been that way. Nevertheless, I'm going to leave that up to you for your interpretation. However, also the Hebrew language does point out and is very particular as to the articles when it mentioned about there should not be an article. Uh, Kelly, that's the word in parenthesis, Keli, of a man, and then the singlet of a woman or wrapper of a woman, which is defined as a singlet, is the word they're using, Simlat. Okay, now everybody has the interpretation, and I know that this is a very uh, controversial uh, scripture, you could say, especially in the church arena. Nevertheless, that however your spirit man convicts you, that's what you choose to do. Nevertheless, getting to my guest here, I definitely want to acknowledge this here because listen, we're talking about cross dressing, and I just kind of did a little research. And it's stating here that cross dressing goes back to the 1570s. That's a long time, but we still can. If this scripture came up, Deuteronomy 22:5, I guess we could go even further than then. But this is what I came across. It says that cross dressing in motion pictures began in the early days of the silent films. Charlie Chaplin and Stan Laurel brought the tradition of female impersonation in the English music halls when they came to America with Fred Karno's comedy troupe in 1910. Both Chaplin and Laurel occasionally dressed as women in their films. And if you're old enough, I'm sure you'll remember those moments or those scenes. It goes on to say that there are literally and figuratively representations of cross dressing from the Aztecs, the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. It shows up in Norse mythology, and the Hindu epics, and the Odyssey. It was prohibited in the Bible, as we pointed out in Deuteronomy 22:5, and it was effectively made illegal in the UK in 1885. Uh, Research goes on to say that 1.5% to 2% of all men in this country have cross dressed at some time in their lives, not counting Halloween, of course. Cross dressing is not, however, a sign of homosexuality. There's a possibility that could be true. Although most professional cross dressers are gay, or let's just say homosexual, most cross dressers are heterosexuals. Okay. Um, I'm really interested though. When this was penned in the Bible, and of course it was stated that it's something that had came from God. Is it possible that God could have known that what we are experiencing today would take place, especially with the sexualization of our children, uh, as far as starting at the age of 2 or beyond? As I pointed out in one video, The Gabby Seeds, the book that I came across entitled The Gabby Seeds, uh, it had content in there that I definitely did not agree with, but it stated that it was uh, okay for children 2 plus, 2 years of age up. It was okay for them. But wait a minute, a 2 year old can't, some 2 years, most 2 years olds that I know don't read that well. But yet still you're targeting 2 years old with this ABC book. Listen, it's obviously that uh, there is a trend that has been started, but there's always an evil connotation behind it. Uh, 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 homosexual homosexuality is an abomination against God. The scripture speaks of that. Men shall be uh, lovers of themselves. Same thing with women. There's biblical scripture against this, but yet still, though, the reason that we have what we have today is for the very simple reason that we have taken God out of our culture. We have taken God out of our country. Basically, you can go back as far as when we started taking first allow prayer to be taken out of the schools. Okay, then if you anytime you remove one thing, that void has to be replaced with something else. And this is what has happened. I really believe that the majority of us adults who are old enough to know wish that we can go back to the 60s and the 70s. Yeah, we had some issues back then as well, but it's not like it is right now. We are destroying, or shall I say, allowing America to be destroyed by individuals who don't love God. When we know that this country here was built on the principles of God. Now I know there are some dark areas, such as a lot of you might be automatically thinking about slavery. Yes, it was wrong. It was wrong because, in truth, be told that God never designed man to rule over man. It was never His intent for God. No, God never intent for man to oppress His will upon another man. But yet still we see it going both ways. Listen, those of us who are Christians, we're encouraging you to come to Christ. But yet still though, you are forcing us to accept your sin. And that's not going to happen. I believe that if I believe that we are at a time right now that the church needs to stop being quiet. And the church needs to stand up and speak against it. All of you prominent pastors, I challenge you. Why are you agreeing with homosexuality? Why are you agreeing with the woke movement? I don't quite understand that. But yet still you profess to be a Christian. Is it because you are guarding your numbers in your church membership or what have you? I agree to be like a lot of the brothers, my brothers in the Bible, who were not afraid to speak the truth. They were not afraid or concerned with notoriety or being liked. They faced death head on, but yet still they would not reject their God. They stood on the principles of what they believed and what they saw and what they heard. And you, men and women of God, please, let's speak up. Let's come against it. And I'm glad to see that there are many of you that aren't doing it. But let's push back against this sin. The devil is a liar. And I want him to know that straight and up front from the truth. So, yes, I do extend a word of prayer to all of the gentlemen. Some of them have already transitioned from this side of life. But I hope they saw Jesus in peace. I hope they get to see him in peace. But for those who are still yet remain alive, listen, I pray that they come to know Christ for themselves and they have repented of their sins. Now, some of you may say, well, there's no sin in cross-dressing. Okay. If you're not convicted, I'm not here to convict you. But I can tell you that it is wrong. And as the scripture says, it is an abomination before God.
If you enjoy what we do here on this channel at Father's Note, we would ask that you would subscribe, like, comment, and share. And until then, thank you. We'll see you in the next video.